If you think you know what evil looks like, think again. Before you dive into this nightmare, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell, and drop a comment if you dare. Because once you step inside Red Onion, you don't come out the same. The call came in at 2:47 a.m. on a freezing January morning in 1998. A correctional officer at Wallens Ridge State Prison in Virginia had been found unconscious in the rec yard, his radio shattered beside him. Blood pooled beneath his head, steam rising from the warm liquid against frozen concrete. When backup arrived, they found something carved into the wall behind him. 3 words that would send shockwaves through the entire correctional system. Red Onion knows. Detective Sarah Martinez pulled her coat tighter as she stepped through the prison gates. 20 years in law enforcement, and she'd never seen guards look this terrified. The warden met her at the entrance, his face pale, hands trembling as he handed her a file marked confidential. Inside were incident reports spanning 6 months, each one more disturbing than the last. Stabbings, riots, guards threatened, evidence disappearing from locked evidence rooms. But what caught her attention was a single name appearing in connection to every incident: Thomas Earl Ketchum, prisoner 04582. Ketchum wasn't supposed to be at Wallens Ridge. He was scheduled for transfer to Red Onion State Prison, Virginia's newest Supermax facility, built specifically for the state's most dangerous criminals. The kind of place where concrete and steel were designed to break men before they could break others. But Ketchum's transfer had been delayed 3 times, each delay followed by another violent incident. Martinez walked through the cell block, her footsteps echoing off walls covered in scratched messages and dark stains. Inmates watched her pass, their eyes tracking her movement with predatory focus. One prisoner pressed his face against the bars, whispering something that made her blood run cold. "He's building an army. Red Onion won't hold him." She reached Ketchum's cell. Empty. The bed was made, personal belongings arranged with military precision, but no prisoner. Her hand instinctively moved to her weapon as she turned to the escort guard. His face had gone white. "That's impossible. Lockdown was 30 minutes ago." He was here during count. The radio on the guard's hip crackled to life. Static, then heavy breathing, then a voice that seemed to come from somewhere deep and dark. "Detective Martinez, welcome to the audition. Red Onion isn't a prison. It's a kingdom. And every kingdom needs subjects." Martinez spun around, searching for cameras, for any sign of where the transmission originated. That's when she saw it, tucked behind the cell's small mirror, a piece of paper with names. 12 names. 11 had lines drawn through them. The 12th name made her heart stop. It was the name of the governor's daughter. The lights in the cell block flickered once, twice, then died completely. In the darkness, Martinez heard the sound of multiple cell doors sliding open, the mechanical clicks echoing like a death toll. Then came the footsteps. Dozens of them, moving in perfect synchronization. But when they opened the locked basement door beneath the prison, what they found changed everything. The basement door had been welded shut in 1995, sealed after an inmate uprising that left 3 guards hospitalized and 2 prisoners dead. No one was supposed to have access. No one was supposed to even know it existed in the official records. But someone had cut through the steel with surgical precision, the edges still warm to the touch. Martinez descended the concrete stairs, her flashlight cutting through darkness, so thick it felt solid. The air smelled wrong, a mixture of rust, old blood, and something chemical that burned her nostrils. Behind her, 4 armed guards followed, their weapons drawn, their breathing rapid and shallow. At the bottom, they found a room that shouldn't exist. It was a command center. Walls covered with photographs, maps, detailed architectural blueprints of not just Wallens Ridge, but of Red Onion State Prison. Floor plans showing every corridor, every blind spot, every weakness in the security system. But it was the center wall that made Martinez's stomach turn. A massive chart detailing the daily routines of guards, their families, their addresses, the schools their children attended. At the top, written in red marker, Phase 3, Coronation. "Jesus Christ," one of the guards whispered. "He's been planning this for months." Martinez moved closer to the blueprints of Red Onion. The facility hadn't even opened yet. Construction was still finishing on the final cell blocks. The official opening was scheduled for 3 weeks from now, August 1998. The governor himself was set to attend the ribbon-cutting ceremony. And his daughter, a criminal justice graduate student, was scheduled to tour the facility as part of her thesis research. Her radio crackled. The warden's voice, urgent and strained. "Martinez, we've got a situation." The transport van scheduled to take Ketchum to Red Onion tomorrow, it left the motor pool 30 minutes ago. No authorization, no driver logged, no guards assigned. Martinez's mind raced. Lock down the entire facility. No one in, no one out. Get me eyes on every security camera between here and Red Onion. Now. But even as she gave the orders, she knew they were already behind. This wasn't a prison break. This was an orchestration. Every delay, every incident, every seemingly random act of violence had been building to this moment. Ketchum hadn't been trying to escape Wallen's Ridge. He'd been recruiting, testing, identifying which inmates could be manipulated, which guards could be compromised, which systems could be exploited. She found another file tucked beneath the blueprints. Inside were transcripts of phone calls, all from the same number, all to Ketchum's cell. The calls had been made from inside the Department of Corrections headquarters. Someone on the inside had been feeding him information, giving him access, helping him build his network. The last transcript was dated yesterday. For words, "Red Onion is ready." Martinez pulled out her phone and dialed the governor's direct line. It rang once, twice, then went to voicemail. She tried his daughter's number. No answer. She tried the security detail assigned to the governor's family. Nothing. The lights in the basement flickered back on. That's when she saw what she'd missed in the darkness. The far wall had a window, reinforced glass looking into another room. Martinez approached slowly, her weapon raised. Through the glass, she could see another space, larger, filled with equipment, computers still running, screens displaying live security feeds. And there on the center screen was footage from Red Onion State Prison. The camera showed the main entrance, the guard towers, the reinforced gates. But something was wrong with the image. Martinez leaned closer, her breath fogging the glass. The guards in the towers weren't moving. They were slumped over, motionless. Her radio erupted with cross-chatter, overlapping voices, panic spreading like wildfire. Multiple units not responding at Red Onion. "We've lost contact with the opening crew. There's smoke coming from the administration building." Martinez turned to run back up the stairs, but froze. Scratched into the concrete wall beside the window, fresh enough that dust still clung to the letters, was a message. "The kingdom rises at dawn. Long live the king. P.S. Your partner should have stayed home today." Martinez's blood turned to ice. Her partner, Detective James Cole, had taken the night shift, volunteering to interview the injured guard at the hospital. The same hospital where 3 inmates from Wallen's Ridge had been transferred last week for medical treatment. Inmates whose names appeared on Ketchum's recruitment list. She grabbed her radio, her hands shaking. "This is Detective Martinez. I need all units to Mountain View Hospital immediately. Officer down, officer down." But as she raced up the stairs, one thought burned through her mind like acid. If Ketchum had already taken Red Onion and her partner was walking into a trap, then the question wasn't how to stop him anymore. The question was how many people would die before sunrise. The drive to Mountain View Hospital took 12 minutes that felt like 12 hours. Martinez's knuckles were white on the steering wheel, her phone pressed to her ear as she tried Cole's number for the 16th time. Still nothing. Behind her, 3 patrol cars screamed through the darkness, their sirens cutting through the pre-dawn silence, like warnings no one would hear in time. Red Onion State Prison sat 90 miles away in the mountains of Wise County, isolated by design, surrounded by wilderness. If Ketchum had taken control, if guards were already down, it would take hours to mobilize a proper response. Hours they didn't have. Martinez's mind kept replaying the surveillance footage, those motionless figures in the towers, the smoke rising from buildings that were supposed to be empty. She screeched into the hospital parking lot at 4:15 a.m. The emergency entrance glowed with fluorescent light, but something felt wrong. Too quiet. No ambulances, no movement, no late-night staff rushing through automatic doors. Martinez drew her weapon and moved inside, 2 officers flanking her. The reception desk was abandoned. Coffee still steaming in a mug beside a half-eaten sandwich. Charts scattered across the floor. And on the security monitor behind the desk, Martinez saw the 4th floor, the restricted wing where high-risk inmates received medical care. The hallway was empty. Every cell door was open. "Cole!" Martinez shouted, her voice echoing through empty corridors. No response. They took the stairs, moving fast but careful, clearing each floor. 3rd floor, nothing. 4th floor, the restricted wing, and Martinez's heart nearly stopped. Blood on the walls. Not splattered, not sprayed from violence, but painted. Words, symbols, the same 3-word message. Red Onion knows. And there, at the end of the hall, Cole's badge and gun on the floor. But no Cole. Martinez's radio crackled. The warden's voice barely controlled panic. "Martinez, you need to see this. We accessed Ketchum's outgoing mail from 6 months ago. He wasn't writing to criminals. He was writing to the construction crew at Red Onion. To the electrical contractors, the security system installers, the concrete workers. He was recruiting before the prison even existed." The pieces fell into place with horrifying clarity. Ketchum hadn't just planned to take over Red Onion. He'd helped build it. Every blind spot, every system vulnerability, every structural weakness had been deliberately designed. The kingdom he'd been building wasn't inside the prison walls. The prison itself was the kingdom, constructed from the ground up to be controlled by inmates, not guards. Martinez found the stairwell leading to the roof. She climbed, her lungs burning, her mind racing. At the top, she burst through the door into cold mountain air and froze. Cole was there, hands zip-tied, kneeling at the roof's edge. Behind him stood a man in prison orange, but his face was wrong. Not Ketchum. Someone else. Someone younger. And behind them, a news helicopter sat on the hospital's helipad, rotors beginning to spin. "Detective Martinez," the man said, his voice calm, educated. "I'm Robert Ketchum, Thomas's son. And you've been chasing the wrong king." Martinez's weapon stayed trained on him. "Where's your father?" Robert smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "My father has been dead for 3 years. Lung cancer, Wallen's Ridge Infirmary, buried in a prison cemetery under a number, not a name. But his plan? His vision? That lived on. See, my father understood something the system never did. You don't break out of prison. You turn the prison into something else entirely." He gestured toward the horizon, where the first rays of dawn were breaking over the mountains. In the distance, barely visible, smoke rose from Red Onion's location. At this moment, 43 inmates have secured Red Onion State Prison. Not as an escape, but as an occupation. The warden, the opening ceremony staff, the governor's security team, all secured. And in 2 hours, when the governor and his daughter arrive for the grand opening, they'll walk right into the only Supermax in history run by the inmates it was built to contain. Martinez's finger tightened on the trigger. "This ends now." "Does it?" Robert tilted his head. "Shoot me and my partner in that helicopter shoots your detective. Let us go, and Cole lives. You have 5 seconds to decide, detective. My father spent 5 years planning this. You get 5 seconds." The rotors spun faster. Martinez looked at Cole, saw the fear in his eyes, the resignation. Looked at Robert, saw the absolute certainty that he'd already won. Her mind calculated angles, distances, probabilities. None of them good. For seconds, Martinez made her choice. She lowered her weapon and stepped aside. Robert dragged Cole toward the helicopter, backing up, his eyes never leaving Martinez. "Smart choice, detective. When you tell this story, and you will tell it, make sure they understand. Red Onion wasn't designed to hold monsters. It was designed to crown them." The helicopter lifted off, banking east toward the mountains, toward Red Onion. Martinez grabbed her radio, her voice steady despite the rage burning through her veins. "This is Detective Martinez. Initiate full tactical response to Red Onion State Prison. We have a hostage situation, potential domestic terrorism, and approximately 43 armed inmates in control of the facility. The governor is walking into a trap. Stop that motorcade, by any means necessary." She watched the helicopter disappear into the dawn sky, then turned and ran. Back down the stairs, back to her car, back into a race she was already losing. But as she drove, pushing her car past every safe limit, heading toward the mountains and the prison that should have been America's answer to its most dangerous criminals, one thought consumed her. If Robert Ketchum was telling the truth, if his father had been dead for 3 years, then who had been in that cell at Wallens Ridge? Who had built that command center? Who had carved those messages? Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered on speaker. A voice, distorted but unmistakably cold. "You thought Thomas Ketchum was one man, detective. He was a philosophy. And philosophies don't die in prison cemeteries. They multiply." Red Onion opens today, not as a prison, but as proof. The system didn't build a Supermax. We did. And we're just getting started. The line went dead. Martinez pressed harder on the accelerator, racing toward a prison that was supposed to represent ultimate control, ultimate security, ultimate power over the most dangerous men in America. But in 3 hours, the world would learn the truth that Thomas Ketchum had spent his last years teaching his son, his followers, his army. You can't lock up an idea. And you can't build walls strong enough to contain men who've already decided the kingdom belongs to them. Red Onion State Prison opened on schedule, August 20th, 1998. But the ribbon-cutting ceremony never happened. What happened instead remained classified for 6 years. When the files were finally released, heavily redacted, one detail stood out. In the aftermath, investigators found Thomas Ketchum's real grave. It had been empty for 2 years. They never found his body. And they never found out who'd been buried there instead. If you made it this far, you're ready for the truth they don't want you to know. Subscribe now because the next story goes even deeper. And trust me, you won't believe what we uncovered about what really happened inside those walls. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.